Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us. Today, we're tackling something that touches literally almost every family in Virginia, but gets completely misunderstood. School attendance and truancy laws. We're breaking down the actual legal playbook, what schools have to do, and how you can navigate the whole shebang. Let's just jump right in.
So, question for you. Do you actually know the legal difference between a simple missed day of school and a full-blown truancy violation? It kind of sounds like semantics, right? But under Virginia law, not all absences are created equal. Missing this distinction can spark a domino effect of serious consequences for both kids and parents. So we're going to clear that up right now.
Here's our roadmap. We're going to define truancy versus absenteeism, figure out exactly who has to attend, walk through the step-by-step intervention process, look at the legal consequences, explore options for older students, and wrap up with some practical action steps for families.
All right, Section 1. Defining truancy and absenteeism. This is the absolute foundation for everything else we're going to talk about today.
Okay, here's the deal. Under Virginia law, truancy is strictly about unexcused absences. We're talking situations where a parent has no idea the kid is absent, maybe they don't support the absence, or the school just flat out rejects the excuse given. Now, chronic absenteeism, that is a much broader net. That means missing 10% or more of the school year for any reason. Excused, unexcused, even suspensions, they all count. So yeah, you can actually be chronically absent without ever being a truant.
To get a handle on chronic absenteeism, schools zero in on this critical 10% threshold. The state tracks this like a hawk, and for good reason. Missing that much instruction is directly tied to a massive drop-off in academics, a way higher dropout risk, and much lower graduation rates. It isn't just about following the rules, it's literally about educational survival. To put that 10% into perspective, on a standard 180-day school calendar, it's just 18 days. That's it. Just 18 missed days out of the entire year, even if you had a doctor's note for every single one of them, and the state flags that student as chronically absent. Crazy, right?
Moving right along to Section 2, who must attend school? We've got the definitions down, so let's see exactly who these rules apply to.
Virginia has what's called a compulsory attendance law, meaning it casts a really wide net over school-age kids. But, it isn't absolute. There are legal exemptions, like approved home instruction and things like that. But here is a super interesting detail. Your school division is legally required to hand you these exact attendance rules within the very first month of the school year. They can't keep this playbook a secret. You have a right to know the ground rules from day one.
Section 3. The step-by-step intervention. Let's see what actually happens when those unexcused absences start piling up.
The good news is, Virginia law doesn't just jump straight to slamming you with a punishment. Instead, it mandates this very specific step-by-step intervention sequence. First, an unexcused absence is logged. Next, the attendance officer has to notify the parent or guardian. Then, they try to schedule a required conference. The whole goal here is to figure out the why early on. Are there health concerns, transportation issues, housing instability? They want to find out what's causing the missed class before things spiral.
And check out this exact legal deadline. Under current law, once those absences trigger the process, the attendance officer has exactly 10 school days to schedule that conference with the student and the parent. The clock is literally ticking. It's built this way to make absolutely sure kids don't just quietly slip through the cracks.
I think this quote hits the nail on the head. Virginia treats truancy as an educational issue first, focusing heavily on family engagement and support. But, and this is a big but, it becomes a legal issue when necessary. Make no mistake, the state firmly retains the power of the law if those educational interventions just aren't working out.
All right, Section 4, consequences and legal actions. So what actually happens when communication totally breaks down? Well, if the intervention process totally fails, the attendance officer can and will escalate things. For parents, the most serious consequence is a formal complaint in the Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court for failing to comply. And for the student, they can actually be proceeded against in juvenile court as a child in need of supervision. That can lead to strict attendance orders, court supervision, or even a forced referral to an alternative education program. It's definitely serious stuff. Oh, and there is this very specific provision in the law worth knowing. Law enforcement or attendance officers actually have the authority to pick up a truant child off the street and bring them directly back to the classroom or a truancy center. And get this, they can do that without automatically filing criminal charges against the parents right there on the spot. The immediate priority is simply getting the kid back into a learning environment. Section 5.
options for older students. Because let's face it, a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work for everyone, especially older teenagers.
For kids who are 16 or older, Virginia actually offers a different pathway. The parents, the student, and the principal can sit down together and create what's called an individual student alternative education plan. It's a completely tailored alternative route. It might include high school equivalency prep and, importantly, mandatory counseling on the real-world economic impact of not finishing high school. It's a great way to combine accountability with a realistic plan to keep the student engaged.
Finally, Section 6, Practical Steps for Families. We've talked a lot about the law. Let's translate all of this into an action plan you can actually use today.
Okay, here are your practical, immediate steps to partner with the school. First off, act early. Contact the school to figure out exactly how your child's absences are being coded. Are they excused or unexcused? If you're dealing with barriers, like no transportation or health issues, report them immediately so the staff can help you out. Keep immaculate records. Save every single doctor's note. And if a conference gets called, definitely go to it. But don't just sit there. Ask for a written attendance plan so absolutely everyone is on the exact same page.
At the end of the day, the absolute biggest takeaway here is that proactive communication is your best tool against legal escalation. Yes, the law gives schools the power to intervene, but it also gives families a ton of opportunities to work collaboratively with the school, long before a missed day turns into a courtroom battle. So, I want to leave you with this thought. Will you wait for a formal legal notice to drop into your mailbox, or will you reach out to your school to remove those attendance barriers today? You've got the knowledge now to take total control of your child's educational journey. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep learning.